being here. It's good. Do you have a nice
Nice to see you.
Yes, I went
Looking
to
for you over here. I got used to it.
bridal shower.
Doesn't-
Yeah, so it was
Did y'all
fun.
drive?
No, I just
You
flew
have a
out
good
there.
day? I have a long drive.
No, it was just for a weekend. Yeah.
All right, Beth, we all good? All right, well,
Of course.
I will officially call to order the City of Travelers Rest Council Committee meeting for Monday, July the 8th. Thanks for everyone for being here. We appreciate it. This is committee nights. We'll start with our Public Works Committee. We have Chair Lane.
Well, I call to order the Public Works Committee. Present are myself, Catherine James, and Sherry Mara. Do I have a motion to approve the June 10th Public Works Committee minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
And Director Tate.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just have a couple of updates. You do have the report in front of you there. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those. We have installed some signage on Center Street around the stairs there, warning people of that. Crews are currently working to repave Little Creek Road and Center Street. Get those mixed up there. Center Street as we speak. So they were out there today. I think Councilman Best there can attest to that. So, I'm meeting Wednesday with the Laurel Creek Garden Club, Mountain Laurel Garden Club, Wednesday morning to start discussing phase 2 of the gazebo planning, which will include some hanging baskets and some other options we have there. That relationship has went very well with them partnering with us. We've also had another garden club reach out, and we're going to try to engage that one as well. The trees at Trailblazer Park, Jay and I looked at these last week, and it looks like they are trying, some of them are trying to come back. The weather that we have right now, I think we're just going to kind of monitor those for the next couple of months. We're not in a good planting season right now, so we'll monitor those. We do have one in the parking lot over on Old Buncombe, on the Old Buncombe Road side that's going to have to come out. But we went through the park last week and looked at those, and some of them are trying to come back. So I think addressing the issue, that possibly was at hand helped on that situation. Athens Park is about 95% complete, and I'm going to reach out to the community over there and try to engage them in maybe a re-grand opening of the park, maybe in early fall. So we'll have that on, hopefully on the books before too long, because that's right around the corner. The mulch around the trees on Main Street, that issue has been addressed. I've talked to the contractor. I think that every time they come out, we have to address this issue up there and getting it pulled back and away from the trees there. Street lights on Main Street from West Road to North Greenville Hospital have been upgraded. There is a pole. There is a light on every other pole from that intersection going outside of the city, and I think this was part of the safety concerns from the HOA there at Glenview Park. I met with a fundraising group this afternoon about the possibility of partnering with the city to fundraise to offset the cost of installing some decorative lighting on the Sunrift side of the trail from Sunrift up to Henderson Drive. It's going to be about 26 lights. So we'll be coming back a little bit later. They're going to explore their avenues and options, and they're going to come back to us hopefully within about a month. That's all the updates I have. Does anyone have any questions?
We have been very busy in this heat, so thank you
Yes.
for all that you have done. We appreciate that. Does anybody on committee have any questions for Director Tate? The only question I have is, again, the other day I did see a car driving on the trail again, parking across from TR's Oriental, to get around. Have you talked with the county to see if there's anything we can do to put, some, maybe posts or something so people can't?
They actually, Greenville County Rec actually placed some boulders out there today. They're
Okay,
along the
great.
trail, so traffic
Awesome.
cannot enter onto the
I
trail
didn't
there.
see, I
They're
didn't
gonna
go
have some
by.
damage if they
Awesome,
do.
okay.
Yeah,
Nothing
I
else
think
works,
that
put a
will-
boulder out there.
Yeah.
We'll see if they
Hopefully
drive
they
over
see
them.
it.
So, yep,
Perfect.
so hopefully that'll, deter that situation.
Okay, awesome. Anybody on council have any questions? Do I have any questions? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion? Second.
Good. Thank you very much. We appreciate all that you do.
All right, Public
David.
Safety Committee Chair Byers.
Call to order the Public Safety Committee for July 8th. Present are myself, Shanice Chris, Wayne McCall, Sherry Mara, and Brantley Vest. Do we have a motion to approve the June 10th Public Safety Minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Thanks. All right, we'll welcome Captain Kelly up for the Police Department report. Thanks for being here today.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. I'll lead off by saying, right now, we have 2 officers that's out on medical leave, 1 officer that just came back stateside. He was deployed for almost a year, so he should be back August, first part of August. And we have 2 openings right now. So we did do 4 interviews this morning. A couple of the candidates look pretty good, so hopefully, knock on wood, and we can be back full staff here soon. I gave y'all a handout on violent crimes for travelers arrest from 2019 to today's date, what we have so far. And if any of y'all have any questions on it, I've been here the longest out of any officers here, and I know it looks like it may be a spike in aggravated assaults and robberies. I think it's just a coincidence, timely coincidence where they're close in proximity for this year. But in my opinion, I don't think violent crime is skyrocketing here in travelers arrest.
Was there something that happened that caused you to look at these numbers more closely?
Chief just felt that he wanted to inform the mayor and the council of what our stats were and what was going on right now.
And the spike in 2023, does that have anything to do with welcoming North Greenville University to our dispatch?
No, because our North Greenville's dispatch calls isn't in
Okay.
with our calls. That's just basically what we got. And are you looking at the second page where it's got
Yes.
calls?
Yeah.
The reason that the call volume is jumped up to 18,000 is we had a traffic grant where we're more out there stopping cars, and stopping cars, you wind up finding more drugs, guns, weapons, wanted felons, things of that nature. So that's one reason why the call volume is up. And if you can see, 24, we're up over 12,000 right now. So we're going to surpass 18,000 by the end of the year.
Is there anything on the police report that was submitted to us in our packet that you want to highlight?
Nothing more than this right here.
Okay.
The police packet was just a normal report that I send out every month.
It looked like in the June crime stats, narcotics violations seemed higher than they had previously with 13 for the month of June. Is that high?
That is, like I said, that's traffic grant, so they're out there stopping more cars and they're confiscating more drugs, which is good, getting it off the road. And the more drugs you got, that causes increase in crime, so they're getting it off the road more.
Is there anyone on the committee who has questions about the report for Captain Kelly? Anyone on council? Anything we can do to help you hire more police officers?
we can just get them to stay here. And, it's like every department right now, the pool that's out there it's not like when I first started. You could be selective. Today, you can't be as selective as you used to. And, it's, I guess just the profession and the way the ones that are growing up today. It's in a profession that a lot of people want to do.
Are other municipalities in the area experiencing the same
Same
issues?
thing. So it's not just Travelers Rest.
Don't know if that's good or bad. All right. Thank you, Captain.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Anything you want to highlight on the fire report for us?
No, I think everything's pretty much standard. It's just rocking right along. We got everything going. We got all our people.
That's great.
Everybody's. We had one that was out injured, but he's back, so we're good to go.
Great. Does anyone on the committee have questions for Chief about the fire report? Anyone on council? Easy peasy. Thank you. Is there anything specific we should know about the building or municipal court reports?
Chair Byers, nothing in particular to report. It's pretty much business as usual. You'll see a increase in the mechanical, electrical, plumbing inspections. That's just a result of the permits that were pulled in the prior months and work being done, so.
Great. Does anyone on committee have questions? Anyone on council? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Planning and Development Committee, Chair Vest.
All right, call to order the Planning and Development Committee. Members present, myself, Brentley Vest, Grant Baumgardner, Kelly Byers, Dr. Shanice Chris, and Sherry Mara. I'm looking for a motion to approve our June 10 minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, review of our planning and development report for June. I saw, it looks like one new project rolled into the entitlement process on Main Street.
There is a the rezone that'll come up on Main Street, 306 South Main Street. TNS Brass
Yeah.
owns that piece of property, and it's going to be used as a gift shop. So it's going from R10 to C2
Okay.
is what they're looking to do, and it's surrounded by C2.
Okay.
So that's a fairly normal one that's coming before us. There are three other items, and I want to talk a little bit about them. One will be Hemlock coming back.
Yeah.
It's been through the SAC comments before. They have gone back through the SAC process, and so they're ready to come back with a preliminary plat. So that'll come before the Planning Commission this month. And then the other one is Bowers Road. And I'm doing something in that regard. You'll see two Bowers Roads on there. So a preliminary plat in its very nature is the same in this case as a final development plan. And so previously what we've always done is the final development plan ends the zoning process. The preliminary plat's the next step. But to make sure that we don't have any confusion and there's no changes between the two, what we're going to do is we'll do the final development plan and the preliminary plat at the same meeting. So the FDP will go early in the meeting. If it is denied, then the preliminary plat will not be heard. But if it is approved, then we would transition and go ahead and hear the preliminary plat at the same evening. It is kind of a operating theory that this will work beneficially. If we notice that it causes any hiccups or anything like that, we're going to go back to our old process, and they'll be a month apart again. But part of my strategy there is I really think that for human nature is once we see something and then we see something again a month later, we start to think, what did they change? How do they compare? That sort of thing. And so it adds a step to the review process rather than having the same documents that look the same. We're going to go about it that way. I hope that this process works. It helps the developers go ahead and move along. They have a long process through land development anyway. So those are the items that were on there.
Yeah, that's good background. Any questions for Director Martin? from the
This will
committee?
then shorten by a month the process of their development plans then. This ought to help the developers out quite a bit.
It should. I think what it does is it should, instead of us unnecessarily delaying things that we've already seen it, the council's already seen it and approved the changes to the, in this case, it was the preliminary, you made changes to the flexible review district and approved those. The final development plan just ends the zoning process, and then you step off to the other one. That way, you don't
Don't
keep
lose
it going
focus.
out. I mean,
You
there's
don't
no
lose
reason
focus.
for
You
it to
got-
be
Yeah.
as long as it
Good
is. And then, they're staring at good 2 months, they'll be in the land development process past that anyway. So once it is approved, if it is approved on the fourth Thursday, it's going to be 60 days at least before you see any pre-construction meeting or anything like that out there. But I also think that the longer you have delayed, like, we saw this project from Citizens, you see it, everything's kind of gone, but nothing happens, rumors get started and all that kind of stuff. So I think it makes it cleaner to try to work through the process that way. Again, we can always back up if we hear from citizens that there was some kind of anything that's being missed in the process. If we find that it's pushing too fast, we can always move those brakes back and see how it works.
Does this eliminate an opportunity for citizens to weigh in on how they feel about the project?
It does not. They still have a public hearing, will be a part of that process. So a public hearing will be the night of, and the public hearing will apply to both. So it'll be heard twice on the same evening, so it'll be the same group. It'll be posted the same way and everything in that manner as well. That was one of our concerns too, though, is to make sure that you have the public hearing and it's heard.
Anyone on council have questions for Director Martin?
I just had a follow-up. So there's a piece of property that's the preliminary subdivision approved that's been there for a while, Parkside Village. Because there's a sold sign, I've had some questions. Do we know what that plan is or bought by? Because it was sold, then taken down, and then sold again.
As far as I know, I looked back into it, and it's sitting in a process and it hasn't expired. And so what they have is a 2-year timeframe on the expiration. The way everything's been moving, I'm assuming it's going to hit the 2 years and it's going to expire. Because what they have to do, their next step would be land development. And so if they have not started through that process, and we would know, land development will reach out to us to make sure it meets all the zoning requirements. So we will hear if it is actually going through that process. But right now, nothing has moved forward to land development. You're welcome.
All right, any other questions from anyone on council? If not, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, Ways and Means Committee, Chair Baumgartner.
All right, present myself, Kelly Byers, Lisa Lane, Wayne McCall, and Brantley Vest. Do I have a motion to approve the June 10th Ways and Means Committee minutes?
Motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Item C, Local Government Investment Pool Consent Form. I am actually excited to be able to bring this to council along with Shannon. We're getting our money's worth out of Shannon is what this is.
Putting her to work.
She is bringing us some new ideas, which is going to help us out on a financial side of things, which mainly has to do with where our money is actually invested. She's coming with some new ideas. She's got some great things. I'm going to let her talk a little bit more in depth about exactly what this is.
Chair Baumgartner, members of the committee, and members of council, thank you very much. We are excited for this opportunity as well. After spending a fair amount of time in the first couple weeks looking at budget, what a question that came to mind was, how are we doing with our investment earnings? And we are, in the budget, outperforming budgeted investment earnings. But once I started sitting and looking at and speaking with some financial advisors and other city administrators and learning, kind of what they do, we do have some great opportunities on the table with the local government investment pool. LGIP is what it's referred to commonly as. The local government investment pool is a mechanism authorized by legislator to provide local governments an opportunity to acquire maximum returns on investment by pooling available funds with funds from other political subdivisions. So this is held at the state treasury. It's only for political subdivisions of the state to participate in. And it essentially acts similar to a bank, but has a high rate of return. So for instance, the highest rate of return for interest earnings at the moment is about 3% at the bank, and the local government investment pool has been performing above 5.5% for the entire year. So it's a good opportunity for us. It acts as a liquid account. We can do as many transactions as we want. They're backed dollar for dollar, as all of our investments are required to be. Same thing with the banks. And we can make as many transactions throughout the week, throughout the day, with 24 hours notice. So it's just, electronic banking for all intents and purposes. Now, in coming to this conclusion of our best strategy, I actually did sit down with Bank of Travelers Rest with Bruce White and Betsy Stiefel to say, hey guys, help me out, help me understand all the vehicles that we have, mechanisms that we have at hand, and they helped us generate a plan that's good for both the Bank of TR and as they said, multiple times, we want to see the city, do really well as well. So we still have all of our accounts open at the Bank of TR. Some of our accounts are not allowed by state law to go into the local government, or not allowed to earn interest. So we've excluded those. Everything at the Bank of TR has now been upgraded to that's allowed to be, has been upgraded to an interest earning vehicle. We are achieving at the highest level at the Bank of TR for each fund account to allow us to hit that 3% that we can do with money markets and some of our checking accounts there. And then the rest of it's going to go into the local government investment pool. So we should see a pretty significant increase on our interest returns. So, but this does require council approval. You are authorized by state law to approve investments, and so that's what we're bringing forth to you. Any questions?
This is also going to kind of go hand in hand along with Carson in her new role as finance director. She's going to be able to continue to do all the same things she was doing with the Bank of Travelers Rest, no hiccup in it whatsoever. And basically what impressed me was that there has been a personal visit with the Bank of Travelers Rest, and we have the Bank of Travelers Rest blessing actually to do this. So important to me in our relationship with them. Does anybody have any questions, other questions that we can answer right now?
No, I just wanted to say too, I appreciate you going to the Bank of Travelers Rest and making sure that we don't hurt them financially by trying to increase, you balanced it very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll need a motion to send this on to council. Do I have a motion to send it on?
Motion.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, can I see a show of hands, those that send it on? Thank you very much. Passes completely. All right, item D, the PEBA addendum to the resolution for participation in state insurance benefits program. In my conversation with Ms. Shannon, right now we don't have enough information. She's still waiting right now. Actually, she has reached out for some legal answers, which we have not received, to know exactly what this whole resolution is going to look like and how it will actually operate. So that all being said, we don't have enough information. I'm going to make a motion to move this, just to table this for the time being and put it back on when we get that information.
Second.
Thank you. Do I have a show of hands for those of us that, all right, there we go. That's passing completely. Thank you. Item E, ATAX Advisory Committee recommendations. Okay, in your packet, there was showing of 4 applicants for, this is the state advisory tax money. This is what comes to us from the state, that we have formed a special committee of Travelers Rest residents, business owners that participate on this to dole this money out. So this is strictly what comes from the state for this particular reasons. The committee did meet. There were 4 applicants. Only 3 of them were actually qualified. And of those 3, I'll just tell you real quick, the Browse and Street Stroll Market asked for $12,000. The committee recommended only $6,000. Reason for that being they wanted to just do part of it because is that a twice-a-year project?
Yes, sir.
And they decided they just wanted to fund the first part right now. The committee does plan on actually getting back together, am I correct on this, Shannon? To get back together later this fall to look at a second round of applications at that time if we need to. So they asked for they approved $6,000 for that, $2,500 for the Trail Mix Concert, which they approved, and $3,000 for the Ville-to-Ville event that we have done yearly also. So all of those actually total up to $11,500 for those 3 projects. The 4th project was a project that was outside of the city limits, so that does not qualify for the funding of this sort. Those are what is here. We have to, as a council, or actually we have to, as committee, send this on to council for approval. So I will now open this up. Does anyone on council or committee have any questions about
I have a question. So for the Ville-to-Ville, what is that money used for? Is it like police or, I know it's running.
Councilmember Kress, yes, it is actually used for personnel, largely for personnel that are used to provide for the safety of the event.
Okay, thank you.
And they are definitely out there. I saw them out there this last year.
Oh, it's a very popular event.
Yep, it really is. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to send this on to council?
Make a motion to send it to council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you all. We've got that. It is going on to council. And have nothing else for finance right now, so I would entertain a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
There we go. I couldn't think of the word. Thank you. I was going to say disbar, but that wasn't the right. So I was just going to be quiet. It's all right. We got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Grant. Old business, we have none. New business, we have none. Miscellaneous matters, our administrative update. Poinsett.
Mayor Amadon, members of council, as you know, you have been talking about this project for nearly a decade now. It's coming to a point of construction beginning. Just to kind of run through how this project came together, the city signed a participation agreement with the Greenville Legislative Delegation Transportation Committee back in 2021. That project participation agreement, the city committed to meet dollar for dollar at the time up to $5 million, well, combined $5 million with the CTC funding that comes through the legislative delegation. And then at that point, the city would be on the hook for any overages of the project. I think there was always an anticipation there would be overages of the project, but as this did kind of draw out between getting the right-of-way negotiations in place and all of the design and engineering in place, the project's numbers have come back pretty significantly. So it's time for us to take a real look at what we can actually accomplish for the dollars that we do have in hand. So when they went out to bid, and I apologize if this is really small, it looked bigger on my screen before. When we went out to bid, and by we, I mean the legislative delegation's manager, construction manager, which is CoTransco, CTC, they received 3 bids. The low bid came back, including the Tubbs Mountain parking lot, which we had asked them to include, which we would be paying for the entire amount on, but using their contractors to not pay a double mobilization fee. The low bid came back at $11.1 million. If you'll remember, in our capital improvement plan, we had identified just over $5 million to do the project. So Jay Martin and I have spent the last month working with CoTransco to identify a project that would be reasonable in scope and begin to accomplish the major objectives of the city on this plan. Because we have already enacted the participation agreement. So we do need to go with the project. We do have funding approved by the state that we need to utilize with the project, but what can we do inside a realistic project scope? And so what we came back with as the major points would be the Tubbs Mountain intersection improvement, all the pedestrian crossings, including the Main Street pedestrian crossings, moving parking behind the businesses where we take it away onto the street, and then to create a sense of place that can be then scaled for the remainder of the project as funding becomes available. And so you see here detailed, and it is in small writing, and I'll be happy to give you this presentation so you can pay very close attention to it, but what we're able to do in a revised scope of $7.1 million. And that accomplishes these major objectives. I want to just walk through, because Councilmember McCall had asked for this in a prior meeting, and look at a few pictures here. Again, they're really small, but the section that we're going to look at in this revised scope runs from the Center Street intersection, that's kind of just before that blue dividing line, up to the Hart Street intersection. It was imperative that we do this in sections because of the water runoff. So this road improvement does improve that water runoff, the standing water that people have talked about, and this goes catch basin to catch basin. Jay Martin has worked with the engineers at CoTransco to ensure that we are working, inside this scope here. The Tubbs Mountain intersection improvement was probably the #1 priority for safety. There has been a fatality at that area, and so this was our #1 priority. These improvements will include a lighted intersection. It widens the road a little bit, includes some turn lanes. For the section that we are running from Center Street to Hart Street, it will include the multimodal path. That's at the full 10-foot width. It includes a 5-foot sidewalk, which is ADA compliance and standard. Originally, we had hoped to make that just a little bit wider, but concrete is very expensive, so narrowing it just that 1 foot actually did make a significant impact in our costs and allows us to still operate up and down the street there. And then, of course, we'll have pedestrian signaling.
Director Herman, quick question. Does this also include trees?
So at the moment, we've taken out the landscaping because that's something that we can probably come back in and do. The
Okay.
street work, the concrete work, and the site work was what we really are concentrating on here.
Okay, thank you.
And it's a great question, Councilmember Chris, because part of this, it does not include the lighting that was originally planned. That was originally planned to be private lighting. So we need to get with Duke Energy because they have a program where we can come in and pay an annual or monthly subscription to lighting. We do this in other places. It won't be quite as decorative, but they still have decorative lighting, and I think it will meet all the intents and purposes, and it will reduce an additional $1 million just in lighting
Wow.
expenses. So it does allow us to really maximize the funding that we have at hand and still put in, amenities. But those would be probably at a later scope. What we could do at this point is work with Duke to put in the conduit and the lighting in that capacity. You have 3 small sections here that show the pedestrian crossings that are planned. I heard at the council retreat that one of your main concerns was this diagonal crossing at Main Street and the Pinestone Main Street crossing, so those are included here. It also, and this was a question I've gotten in multiple citizen meetings here, what about the pedestrian crossing at Chicora Alley? That is included as well. I heard loud and clear from the community that whether or not we put this crossing in, people are going to cross, so we needed to protect the safety here. So these are the 3 sections where we have pedestrian crossings signalized and protected. I don't know if it's signalized at Main Street, but that we have the clearly protected pedestrian crossings. It does include the multimodal path and sidewalk on both sides for the section that we are completing, and this can be scaled out. There's multiple ways to do that as we go forward. We will continue to work to find funding, and I'm going to go over funding here in just a moment, but we'll work to continue to find funding, and we can increase the scope. All the planning and the design work is done, so this can be increased, and we can also work with developments as they come in too to complete the piece in front of those each, if we had to go parcel for parcel. Not our priority, not our preferred method of doing it, but we want to ensure that this is scalable as we continue to move forward in project funding. All right, talking about funding, I mentioned to you that we had $5 million in the capital plan that you all have already approved. They come from the Legislative Delegation Transportation Committee, match. Some of our resurfacing match money is going into that, including that 2.5 million. You passed the H-tax revenue bond a while back, so that's sitting, earning a little bit of interest. We'll get it earning more. At the 1.2 million there, your capital budget that we approved, $875,000, and then you had prepaid some expenses at $250,000. Eric had identified a street improvement fund, so we've got $144,000 going into that. New to this was a request from the state for state infrastructure, water, and sewer project funding earmarks, and that we have just been approved for $1 million for that. So we'll need to reach out and thank all of our state legislators who really helped us grow there. Additionally, we have some county road improvement funding, small amount. That puts us at $6.1 million. The project scope timeline was also unfortunately extended, so it's going to be well into 2026, which gives us another year to identify funding. We can go back to the state and ask for additional funding. We can go back to the Legislative Transportation Committee and ask for additional funding. We can continue to find funding as we come along to get to that full scope. If we need to reduce the scope, we'll talk about that as we go along. But I feel very confident. The project manager for CTC has assured me that we have, full support on that side to complete this project. It has so many safety elements in it that it really does become a priority. So that's kind of where we are and what we think we can accomplish at the moment. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
I'll kick us off, maybe top level things. Shannon has stayed in contact with me about the kind of ongoings. Honestly, I was disappointed. I kind of wanted all the bells and whistles that we have talked about, but also we live within our means. And so I appreciate Shannon and Jay putting this together. It feels like it's hitting the major things that we want, which safety is first, and getting some sense of place and some beautification. I would love to have it all, but I appreciate the putting this together and thinking through of what we need and what we can address right now. The crosswalks are a big deal. So all that to say, thank you for that. I feel like the rest of it will work itself out. I think we have a history of piecemealing things as we go and paying for them as we have the funding. So, but appreciate all this hard work for sure.
I have a question. So for the business, the parking behind the businesses, we're taking away parking behind the businesses?
No, ma'am. The street plan actually takes away a little bit of parking in the front.
Oh,
so
okay,
this
but
puts
keeps in the
lots
back.
behind them
Okay, thank
to
you.
replace that. Yep.
If you remember, Shanice, so right now Poinsett is just flat and people can pull right in, and
Right.
DOT doesn't like that because then you can pull out. So we're kind of taking something from them, so we're giving them parking in other areas.
Gotcha.
So we
thank
don't
you.
want to take anything from them, we're just kind of moving it into another area. But they won't be able to just back out straight in and.
That'll be good.
So, point me to where I'm talking to. All these acronyms, what about GPATS? Is any money been requested from GPATS?
I'm unaware of that, so probably not at this point.
I don't think we have, Wayne. Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, that's a good
All right,
idea.
what about C-Fund committee? Does any of this stuff qualify for C-Funds?
These are the C funds. The
That is the C funds on the top.
DTC is C funds.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And if that makes you feel better, I had to have about a 3-hour tutelage on how all that went.
I don't understand. These are different acronyms. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's a pool of money there every quarter.
Absolutely.
Everybody, you need to be there every quarter begging. Beg, borrowing, and stealing.
Yes, sir. And their next meeting is August, and we're already planning to get on the agenda for that.
I feel confident that they would.
Do what?
I said, I feel confident that they will understand the
Well,
need and the
I
safety
know when we
components
had,
to it.
at one time, we basically had 3 members on that committee. We had the District 17, we had the at-large, and we had Jason Elliott before Jason got into the House. And so, I made a living down there. And that's how we got a lot of this stuff done. And, I don't know how it is now. I hadn't even thought about going to one. That's like watching paint dry. But
We've actually had excellent
we had Terry Bragg there
participation.
too, so, it was.
Richard Duncan's our current representative. We've met with him. Philip J. and I met with Richard, and he's very supportive of the project, obviously, in the area. But also, we've had good support from the entire committee and good support from the project manager as well.
Well, I'm sure GPATS, that's another possibility.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And, we started this in 2015. 2015 is when we first started it. And the trigger just hadn't been pulled, so shoot somebody. Remember, they pulled the trigger.
Well, and some of that, I completely agree with that. However, I will say this, that had we pulled the trigger at that time, yes, the price would have been lower, but we wouldn't have had $1 million grant from the state
Yeah,
either.
well, that's
So,
true.
so we're kind of,
But-
I'm thankful for that.
Then again, if you go back to some of us, well, like me and you, when we first started this thing, you know, we went out on a limb to pull the bond that we pulled, you know, but we hadn't had any problems paying for it. So, I mean, it gets to the point now where either you wanna do it, and you might have to go back and, you know, down there at Haynesworth Law Firm and let them maybe re-look at that bond. I mean, I don't know what our bonding capacity is now, but, I mean, if you do what you always do, you get what you always got. I mean, that's just plain and simple.
Well, and
So-
where we are right now, I see us, we've got opportunities in that, you know, we've got options to look at. They're not all visible at this point, but I think with Shannon here and with where I mean, we're $1 million better off right now.
Oh, I agree.
Than we
I'm
were a
total
month ago,
agreement.
correct?
Yes, sir. And I
so-
would probably be remiss, or I am remiss not to say that Bruce Bannister and Patrick Haddon and Mike Burns were very instrumental in helping that, and Jason Elliott as well, who just won his seat, so.
I don't like having to actually piecemeal it all together, but if that's what we got to do, because we've been in this dadgum stage for so
gotta move.
blasted long, let's get something going. At least we can show that we're doing something.
Absolutely.
And the safety factor of this is just, we need it. I mean, I don't think anybody on council will disagree with that. So
Well-
one portion that's got to get completed.
Just for the point of record, Dan or Tim or whoever, out there at Hawkins Road and then the one on the other side where Poinsett goes into the yield right there, is that a 1 through 5? Where is it as far as accidents? How many accidents happen there? I mean, probably State Park and 225 or. Overall in the city, 1 through 5? Right, yeah, right over there, right there at Hawkins Road, and then if you're going on the back side of it, behind Willis's, going headed north on 25 right there.
A 2 to a 3, that's pretty bad.
That's a bad intersection. So, I mean, there you go, right there. I mean, you know, we talk about doing maybe the roundabout or whatever we can do there. I mean, it gives us opportunity to eliminate that as well as do the streetscape. So, I mean, I'm all in. Let's do it.
I'm ready to move on it too.
Just so I'm correct, so you're saying the revised project scope is 7.1, so that's what we've agreed to do, and we still need to find $1 million somewhere, okay.
So look at GPAT, state, additional funding there. Great.
And we don't have to have it right now. We
Correct,
just-
correct. We have
Which is
2
nice,
fiscal
yeah.
years to complete the project.
Can you walk me through what will happen next and any communications to the businesses along that stretch about negative impacts to their business while this construction is happening?
Yes, absolutely. So construction, they're ready to sign, and I asked them to wait until I had a chance to present to you tonight, but they're ready to award the project. So it's ready to be basically go into the pipeline almost immediately. I'm not sure, because we're not the project manager, CTC is the project manager on it, what their typical communication is. But I'm happy to ask that question, and then, you know, if they don't have a communication, we can create one in-house and communicate with the businesses to ensure, and that's an excellent question, to ensure the most seamless construction process possible.
Thank you.
I would say we've had good communication with the business owners, and they've been so patient over the years, especially Chicora Alley, who's kind of our flagship on that strip. But I'm sure they're ready to move just like we are, but good communication would be lovely, however we can support that.
And Shannon, will you remind me the phases, like 1, 2, and 3? Like the first one we're going to do?
So I'm not well-versed in specifically what was included in phase 1, 2, and I think there were maybe 4 total. But I do know that the last capital improvement plan that you passed kind of started to mush them together a little bit.
Correct.
And then identifying Tubbs Mountain, which I would suggest we pull out and look at future budgets, what we could do to pay for that on our own. We're paying for a similar sized parking lot at $350,000, so the $800,000, which it's been told to me by multiple sources that road construction does not do parking lot construction, so it's not unusual to see a number that much higher than maybe we would go to a different vendor for that. So I think we can do that separately, but the short answer to your question is I believe multiple phases were sort of combined into one to accomplish this scope here. Center Street, I believe, like the striping on Center Street is a different project. That is a DOT road. Councilman Vest, you and I were talking about that. It is a DOT road, and it is on there, and I believe they're doing it now. For some of that restriping there, and I would be unversed in what else was to be accomplished.
I know we blended the diagonal into Poinsett. That was going to be a separate entity, but we combined those two. And that diagonal is pretty important too, as far as the trail just hops over. So if you're not from here, you see people like in front of Tandem, like where did it go? Yeah.
Yes, I saw that in there, and that is included in this scope, this revised scope.
How is that going to affect the elderly in the retirement apartment complex? I don't know, can't remember the name of it, but that's on that street.
That Commons?
Yeah. How's that? Because a lot of them can't park and they have to walk to their, how's that? Will there be ways around that as well for safety purposes during the construction?
Councilmember Lane, I know that part of construction practices, you cannot block entry, ingress and egress, but I don't know specifically how they're planning to do that. I'm happy to follow up and get a diagram specifically so we understand that. I believe we work with local entities on that too, ingress and egress, do we not?
There was a point in time where the apartment complex was supposed to be putting a parking lot behind.
Right.
I haven't heard a status update. Maybe that's something we
I
can
know a lot of
check
them
on.
walk to
Yeah.
and from where they park and
I mean,
all that.
the Tubbs Mountain Road intersection, from my understanding, should be pedestrian friendly, so, but you're right, we want to make sure that they can get very easily to the farmer's market, for example. It's a great question. What else we got? You don't need an official vote or anything from us, just information, okay. Well, thank you for that. I know that was, you came into a whole new, the largest project that we have going on, so, and got thrown a curveball, so I appreciate you and Jay kind of jumping into that. It's a big deal, so this is a lot of energy and time going into it, but it feels like we're making smart moves, so we'll take it. All right, does anybody else have anything for the good of council?
Well,
Harvey, keep it down over there, keep it down over there.
Me and you both.
Are we looking for a city clerk replacement for Carson since she got promoted? Is that effective July 1st?
Councilmember Lane, we are putting together that, that job description right now to get it out, and we are very excited about that. If you know of people who are interested in the part-time position, I'll make you aware as soon as we put it out. We will advertise it in every place that we can, but obviously it's going to become a critical member of the team, a critical member for you, for the team. And so we look forward to finding somebody wonderful. We've done really great so far, getting our last couple hires and promotions. So really excited about the team and looking forward to bringing someone else on.
I'm sorry, is it part-time or full-time?
It is part-time.
Part-time, okay, great. Yeah, I think that would be something helpful we could do as council members to think about who might be a good, might be nice to have a local person as well, be a good city clerk. Cool. All right, anybody else have anything else for the good of council? All right, motion to adjourn committee,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor? Awesome, all right, thank you very much, we appreciate